Welcome to the weekly Shia of Zera Shimshon. Today is Chaf Aleph Lechodesh Kislev, Thursday Pashas Vayeshev Tovshim Pevov. And we are standing a few days before Chanukah, the Yontiv of Persuma Nissa. And we learn here a piece in Zera Shimshon that talks about the inyan of Pirsum. In this week's Parsha, Pashas Vayeshev, we encounter two tzaddikim, two individuals that were Mekadesh Shem Shemayim, both in incredible ways. As the Gemara tells us in Masechta Soita Daf Yud, Yehuda was Mekadesh Shem Shemayim by admitting, by owning up, and he said, Tzad Kami Meni. He could have covered up and said, I'm not the one that caused Tamar to become Mu'beres, and he didn't do that. And he did that publicly. The second was Yoir Vatzadik. Yoir was Mekadesh Shem Shemayim too, by his Vayemo'ein, when he was so strong to withstand this test. Nobody would have known. Nobody would have been aware if he would have been Nichshel, and Yoir Vatzadik was Mekadesh Shem Shemayim B'Seiseh. So we have two Kiddush Shem Shemayims. We have Yehuda, that was Mekadesh Shem Shemayim B'Farhesia. There was Persume Nissa, a person of going against the Teva, and there have Yosef Atzadik that was Mekadesh Shem Shemayim B'Seiseh behind closed doors. Says the Gemara, we're learning Zera Shimshon Ois Yud Aleph, Soited Perikama, V'yaki Yehuda v'yom tzadkim imeni. Yehuda said, I am guilty, it's from me. Hainit Amr Reb Chanan bar Bizna. Reb Chanan bar Bizna said, we can differentiate between these two Kiddush Shem Shemayims. Yosef shekiddush Shem Shemayim b'Seiseh. Yosef Atzadik, that was Mekadesh, the Abel's name, behind closed doors. Zacha v'sifiloi ois mishmoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He merited that a letter from the Abel's name was added to his name, which means till now Yosef's name was Yud, Vav, Samach, and the Fei. After being Omed ben Nisayan, he got a new name, a new letter to his name, and now his name was Yud, Hey, Vav, Samach, and the Fei, Yehoisef. As the Pasuk says, Edis bihi Yosef Samoy B'Tseisa al Eretz Mitzrayim. The letter Hey is one of the letters of the Eibishter's name. Yehuda Shekidei Shem Shemayim B'Farhesia. Yehuda, that was Mekadesh, the Eibishter's name publicly. He didn't only get one letter added to his name. Zacha v'nikra kulo el shmoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Then he was Zoicha that his entire name became the name of the Eibishter. Yehuda is Yud K Vav K. That is the Yud K Vav K name. That's the Shem Havaya with the Dalet, which he will discuss at the end. So we normally understand this Chazal to say that Yehuda's act was greater. Therefore, he merited to get all four letters of the Eibishter's name in his name. Ma'ashe'enkin Yosef, that was only Mekadesh Shem Shemayim B'Seiseh, he only got one letter from the Eibishter's name. Frag Zera Shimshon, I don't understand. Bishleb Eitzel Yosef, it says Zacha. Yosef merited, and a letter of the Eibishter's name was added to his. It makes sense. After he did this incredible act of Vayemo'ein, he was rewarded with the extra letter. Avad Yehuda, how can we say his name was the name of the Eibishter because of the act he did? Wasn't he called Yehuda by his bris? Avad Yehuda Karya Oisa came by Eis Haleda. Yehuda had this name when he was born. It's not Lashon Zacha. Agav, this is interesting. Zera Shimshon, there's a big shaila. When were names given to the Shavatim? We are accustomed to give names by the bris. Here the Zera Shimshon says that Yehuda's name was given to him be'ez later, when they were born. That means they didn't do this minig of giving the name by the bris. And others want to bring a raya to this from last week's parasha, Parashat Vayishlach, that it says that Rachel Imenu had her younger son, we know as Binyamin, and she called that son Ben Oini, and her father called it Binyamin. When did this take place? Rachel Imenu passed away right after childbirth. So if so, she wasn't there b'shas the bris of Binyamin. And nevertheless, she named the baby this would be a proof that they used to name the babies before the bris, not like we do today. And this is like the Zera Shimshon seems to understand. The names are given be'ez later. Others want to be matcha. Others want to say it's not a proof. It means she said that this is a name she wanted that should be given b'shas the bris, not that the name was given then on the day when she gave birth, but she wanted the name to be given later, and her husband Yaakov disagreed. And there's other rise to this shaila. When exactly did the Imois give the names to the children? Pashtas Psukim is mashma. They gave it b'shas later, but there is other makoros to this. This is just agav. The Zera Shimshon said he gave the name b'shas later. But Al Kaponim, going back to the Zera Shimshon's question, what does it mean that Yehuda's name is the name of the Eibishter as a result of his Amida ben Esoyan? That happened way later. Says the Zera Shimshon, I want to suggest another pshat, and with this we'll understand differently the difference between Yosef and Yehuda. Yesh Loima. You're right. The name was given when he was born. Nevertheless, it's called Zacha. Why? Hashem knows before a person's born what's going to happen to that individual, what madrega is going to reach, what nisyonis is going to withstand. Therefore, the name that was given to him, Yehuda, was Al Shmoy Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, based on a story that's going to happen many years later. She did me beten. The kedusha of the child comes with beten. Says the Zera Shimshon, the Imois were nevuyes. They knew what's going to happen with these children late in life. Because of that, they gave a name Yehuda, Shmoy Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because of the incredible Kiddush Shem Shemayim Goluri, but for Hesia, that Yehuda is going to do later. The Chale Mois the Vayeshev, all the Imois and the Vayeshev, Kid Isa Ba, Medrash Rabbi. Therefore, they gave him the name Yehuda when he was born. Interesting that the Zera Shimshon says that the Imois and the Vayeshev, we know, and I think it's from the Rizal, maybe other Makoros, that parents, when they give a name to the children, they get Ruach HaKodesh to mechaven to give the right name. And there's been a lot of stories to prove this idea. Even not people on the Madrega of the Avos and the Imois also have a level of Ruach HaKodesh to give the right name. And the Zera Shimshon could have said, even without this idea that the Imois and the Vayos, they were mechaven to give the name Yehuda because this is the name that was supposed to be given to him because of a ma'aseh that happened later. But I'll upon him. The Zera Shimshon says the name was given at the beginning because of the incredible Kiddush Shem Shemayim of later. No, so why didn't that happen by Yosef? Why by Yosef was the letter Hey only given later? What's the difference in Yosef and Yehuda? Says the Zera Shimshon of Yosef came. It wouldn't be possible to call Yehosef when he was born. Why? Shahoil, beautiful pshat. Shahoil shekiddush Shem Shemayim b'seiseh. Since the Kiddush Shem Shemayim of Yosef was behind closed doors. Nobody will know about this Kiddush Shem Shemayim if not for the fact that we add a letter to his name. And we want to publicize it. So if he would have been born originally and the name Yehos would have been given, then this Kiddush Shem Shemayim would go unnoticed. Nobody would have known that Yosef was Mekadosh Shem Shemayim B'Seiseh. So what we did was the Eibishter added a letter Hey afterwards, and now people ask the question: 1 second, wasn't his name till now Yosef? Why now is his name Yehosef? Yish'alu ha'olam hatam al shinizeh v'yevoyu l'das shekiddush Shem Shemayim, and they will figure out, he was Mekadosh Shem Shemayim. V'moy nikra kach b'eis le'dosai lohem regishim klal shrei oisa ma'isa b'seiseh mamash. This was done in a way that nobody would know. Umekolshkein, that the Eishes Paitifar, she denied this. She says it's not true. He's guilty. Umeshmacha hutzrach lechizek godlok de farisam emes. So there is Shimshon's understanding. The reason why Yosef got one letter added to his name was because we had to make a heker and show that it's different. So he has the name Yosef, and now we're going to add a letter, and now people are going to ask, hey, what's this all about? And his Maisa will become publicized. Ma'ashenkim by Yehuda, that did it for Rabbim, it wasn't necessary to change his name post the story, because everybody knew the story. The story was Vayeshev. That's why his name could have been given originally, the name Yehuda. Lefi this is what the Gemara is trying to say. Yosef did it Betzina, therefore we have to add one letter to his name to get people to ask the question, what's happening? And with that, they'll figure out that Yosef is a tzaddik and Yosef was Oymed ben Nisayan. Mash came by Yehuda that he was Oymed ben Nisayan publicly, and everybody saw that, so we didn't have to add a letter later. And therefore, his original name, B'shas, his bris, or B'shas he was born, was Yehuda. And that's the Pshat in the Gemara. Because it's Betzina, Hashem will be Mefarsim. And this is the biggest side in life. People that do Maisim behind closed doors, Chazal tell us, Hashem publicizes them. It becomes known. If you do a Maisim of Kiddush, Shem Shemayim, Betzina, that will become Misfarsim. And this is the story of Chanukah. In the days of Chanukah, we are Zoicha to Presuma Nissa, Kiddush Shem Shemayim. We want to glorify the Eibishter's name, and everybody should know, and everybody should realize and recognize there's no Teva, and it's all the Eibishter. And this is the Mitzvah Hayoim, and this is Kiddush Shem Shemayim. And that's why I once saw in a Sefer, says in Shulchan Aruch, a person has to spend all his money to be Mekayim Mitzvahs Ner Chanukah. We don't find that by other mitzvahs, even by Deraisis. Why by Ner Chanukah are we obligated to spend every last penny? And the answer is because, like we find that for Kiddush Shem Shemayim, a person has to give up his life. The same goes every Chanukah. We are Mekadesh Shem Shemayim. We publicize the Nes Chanukah. It happened behind closed doors. That a flask that only had enough for one night lasted 8 nights. We want to publicize that. We want to be mefaris in that. We're doing an act of Kiddush Shem Shemayim b'farhesia. Since it's Kiddush Shem Shemayim, so that requires Mesiras Nefesh. So of course we have the Gimel of Eretz Chamuros when we publicize and we are mefarisim elikus ba'olam that a person gives up his life. By Ner Chanukah, we give up every last penny that we have to be mefarisim Shem Shemayim b'farhesia. The street should know, the public should know that the Eibishter is a kol yachol, and the Eibishter makes nisim when it flies. So the Eibishter help from the schus of the Heilige Zera Shimshon. We should see nisim when it flies, and we should be zoichet to Yeshuas, to Refuas, and to Besuras Toivas, a good Shabbos, in our Freidach Chanukah.